Welcome to 60 Skills. In today's lesson, we will learn everything there is to know about the three transformations. What are the three transformations? In traditional Chinese meditative and yogic theory, this refers to the conversion of the Jing into the Qi and into the Shen. In the 60 Skills system of instruction, this refers to the conversion of the vital into the astral into the mental. However, what is not well understood is that you can move this both up the path of enlightenment and down the chain of manifestation. When moved up the path of enlightenment, this technique greatly aids the development of out-of-body experience. When moved down the chain of manifestation, it in turn greatly enhances physical performance. So join 60 Skills as we learn everything there is to learn about the three transformations. Welcome to 60 Skills. What are the requirements for the three transformations? To perform the three transformations, you need to be able to vital breathe or pour breathe as described in the Building the Chi Ball exercise. You need to be able to do astral breathing, and you need to be able to generate mental energy. While these exercises will be covered briefly in the course of performing the exercise in this current lesson, the fact of the matter is, for most people, you will require additional instruction. So if you have trouble with any of these things, look at the other lessons available in the 60 Skills curriculum. That said, many people taking this course will already have experience with the three transformations from either a Buddhist or Taoist system of instruction. So if you already know how to pour breathe, and you can generate astral energy or Qi, and you can generate mental energy or Shen, then please start the lesson now. Otherwise, you will need to go review these materials and become proficient at these techniques. Let us begin. Welcome to 60 Skills. Why perform the three transformations? Well, the three transformations involve the changing of one form of energy into another form of energy. When going from the more gross to the more subtle, this refers to as the path of enlightenment. When going from the more subtle to the more physical, this is referred to as the path of manifestation. Now, vital energy, astral energy, and mental energy, or Jing, Qi, and Shen as they are known from traditional Chinese theory, are three of the primary energies of the body. The other two that most people work with passively, if at all, are both Akasha and non-dual light. That said, learning how to perform the three transformations teaches a practitioner how to actively manipulate their energy matrix. Over time, this also allows a practitioner to actively and specifically identify which form of a given energy they are working with. Because while there are the innate human nature energies of Jing, Qi, and Shen, or vital, astral, and mental, the elements, the Kabbalistic letters, and the planets are all capable of generating energy at, you guessed it, the mental, astral, and vital level of existence. So by learning how to perform the three transformations, a practitioner can specify which version of an energy they choose to work with. And this is very important because the manifestations of different energies change greatly depending upon what level of reality they are operating at. Now, one of the reasons why you learn the three transformations first is these vital, astral, and mental energies are things that practitioners work with on a daily basis. Vital being the energy generated by living things, astral being the energy of sensation, and mental energy being the energy of spaceless concepts, or concepts without spatial limitations, such as the color blue, or democracy, or anger. So this is why you want to learn how to do this, so you can be actively in control of how your energy works. Because simply put, being actively in control of how your energy works is one of the most basic skills available to both a meditator, yogi, and magician. Let us begin. Welcome to 60 Skills. We will now discuss the path of enlightenment and the chain of manifestation. These terms have been often mentioned in the 60 Skills curriculum and Hermetics written large. Now, that said, we're going to get into a very specific discussion regarding what this actually means. Okay, the path of enlightenment is just that. This is the movement of your consciousness from a more gross environment to a more refined environment. The three transformations play a specific role in this, and that you're taking vital energy, which again is the energy emitted by all living beings, converting it into astral energy, which is the energy of sensation, emotion. Now, this is where the first change happens. Astral level energy is timeless, whereas again, vital energy is constrained by both time and space. Because of this, you can store a lot of energy on the astral, and if you know the three transformations, draw it down into the vital. This is one of those little tricks that higher level practitioners know how to perform that don't often get discussed. Now, this astral energy in turn can be converted into mental energy. Mental energy is a kind of energy, if you will, that is not constrained by space. It is a spaceless kind of energy. Simply put, this means it is the realm of concepts and ideas that do not have form. Things such as the meaning of the color blue, taxation, morality. These are all things that, while they can be made pictures of involving a given activity or a given manifestation, there is no direct picture that you can draw to manifest something that has a shape associated with it. Now, it's also worth mentioning that these three things can be taught very quickly because these are states of consciousness that every human being goes through throughout their working day. The vital level is, I'm sitting in a chair. The astral level is, I'm in love with my spouse. The mental level is, I'm thinking about those taxes I need to pay. So again, these are fairly easy to identify and fairly easy to work with. The levels beyond this that begin to correspond with what most people would call enlightenment experiences tend to deal with akasha, or the power of the void, and non-dual light, or the light of pure consciousness. Now, what's most interesting about this is everybody has access to all of these things. That said, accessing akasha and non-dual light tend to take quite a bit of training so they can be performed under normal working systems or parameters upon demand. Most people can only access their akasha or non-dual light under varying states of duress, or quite simply by accident. And that is the primary purpose of later coursework. Now, the chain of manifestation, on the other hand, as it implies, involves moving energy from these more subtle states down into the physical. Specifically, the conversion of Shen, or mental energy, into Qi, or astral energy, into Jing, or vital energy. Now, if you don't have access to your own akasha and non-dual light, this tends to be very taxing. However, by generating a lot of vital energy, you can also greatly enhance your physical performance. So many forms of Qigong, for example, or esoteric forms of yoga, tend to work with this lower energy center in the abdomen a lot. What this is doing while you're performing it is passively drawing energy from these more refined states and pulling it down into a vital state. The result of which is physical strength, stamina, endurance, health, resistance to disease, and longevity are all generally enhanced. Now, by longevity, I also mean improved performance over a longer period of time. I am unaware of any living human being that I've run into that just by generating large amounts of vital energy substantially increased their lifespan. I have, however, seen people who are, for whatever reasons, generally deficient in vital energy greatly enhance their longevity by backfilling it through these activities. It is not perfect, but if you're naturally born with a bit of a deficit in that category, this certainly appears to help and has been validated over time, historically speaking, in traditional Chinese medicine, amongst other sources. So again, this is a little discussion on the path of enlightenment, or taking gross energy and turning it into more refined energy, and the chain of manifestation, going from the more refined to the more physical. Now notice I said for most people, converting their ambient mental energy into astral energy into vital energy tends to be a bit draining. There is an exception to this. Just as I mentioned earlier in this lesson that for the most part, energy can only be converted, not created or destroyed, unless you have access to the Akasha. At this point, you can draw energy directly out of the Akasha. This then allows a practitioner to radically enhance the amount of mental, astral, and vital energy they are working with. Now, this tends to be draining on the vital level in a unique kind of way, and as we get into later coursework in the series, you'll find out why that is and how to mitigate some of that. But the fact of the matter is, working with these things allows you to push more energy into the system. In particular, this becomes important when you're working with different energies other than the ones natal to the human body. So this is a little speech on the path of enlightenment in the chain of manifestation. Let us begin. Welcome to 60 Skills. We will now discuss vital energy as your base. Okay, one of the primary advantages with working with the three transformations is it allows a practitioner to move energy across the different levels of reality. Specifically, this allows a practitioner to use their vital energy as a base for conversion into other energies. This ends up giving a practitioner access to a wide variety of energies in much greater volume or power than they would be able to do if they were simply limited to the ambient amount of energy that they have with them. Now, this also brings up the issue of the conversion of energy. One of the maxims of physics is that energy can be neither created nor destroyed, but only converted. That's generally true. However, people with access to Akasha can in fact bring more energy into the universe on a very limited scale. But we'll get to that in a moment. The simple fact of the matter is, by drawing on your vital energy and converting it into astral and converting it into mental, you are in fact drawing on your vital energy. While this may seem very obvious to some people, it bears mentioning here as it needs to be kept in mind. So the more energy you need to engage to do things, the stronger your vital energy needs to be in order to feed that process. Now, the good news is this, like all physical phenomenon involving a living organism, also responds to the stress adaptation model. So the more you work with your vital energy, the more vital energy you have to work with. This is also true of both your astral energy and your mental energy. It is one of the primary reasons why senior practitioners of these systems, regardless of age, are noticeably more robust than their counterparts who do not engage in these activities, assuming similar lifestyle habits. And this is what we're going to get into now. In general, smoking, drug use, obesity, excessive sexual behavior, not getting adequate sleep, not getting adequate nutrition, engaging in too many extreme activities all deplete vital energy. The result of which is you have less astral and mental energy to work with at the end of the day. Again, this is intuitive to most people, but it bears mentioning. So if you're going to perform the 3 transformations, you need to keep in mind that your vital energy is your base for performance of this. And while yes, you can in fact transmute mental energy into astral energy and into vital energy, the fact of the matter is this is a relatively inefficient process. It generally works better in the other direction. Now we will get to why this is in a moment, but the simple fact of the matter is that is something that you need to keep in mind. For whatever reason, it appears much easier for human beings to go up the path of enlightenment versus down the path of manifestation. Additionally, what you're going to find if you have a very robust vital energy base is that you tend to be much stronger and have a much greater neurological response than most people. This also tends to reinforce the immune system and quite simply make the body function better for longer. I have not seen a massive accumulation of vital energy increase lifespan much, assuming adequate lifestyle habits. I have seen it for a time overcome a variety of negative lifestyle habits. However, even in those cases, eventually a price has to be paid. Let us begin. Welcome to 60 Skills. We will now talk about the passive conversion of Jing, Qi, and Shen, or vital, astral, and mental energy. In many systems of yogic development, particularly in both medical and martial arts systems, the active conversion of these energies is not actually taught. What they do is they tend to condense or accumulate a lot of energy, for lack of a better word, into the vital center of the body in the abdomen. When enough energy is developed there or accumulated there, it will auto-convert into both astral and mental energy. That said, this does not result in a practitioner having a great deal of control over what they're doing. But it does explain why exceptionally physically robust people, or people without much clairsentience who choose to engage in a lot of esoteric martial arts practice, can be veritable dynamos of vital, astral, and mental energy, even though they don't believe in things like qi or subtle energy at all. They simply perform the different exercises over and over again, accumulating large amounts of this energy in their lower abdomen, which then ends up auto-converting over to astral and mental energy. Now, one of the disadvantages of using a passive system of doing this is that it results in a practitioner not having much dexterity or finesse in how they apply energies. So this works fine for punching people in the head, or enhancing athletic performance. But if you're attempting to work with the Kabbalistic letters, the elements, or higher order meditative effects, this simply will not do. Additionally, there tend to be a variety of side effects that come from working with energy in an only passive manner. When you condense or accumulate a lot of energy in the lower abdomen, it tends to generate heat in the body. This is the source of certain kinds of practices like Dumo practice from Tibetan yoga systems, or the different burning open of channels or burning open of energy centers as encountered in many Hindu yogic and Chinese Qigong systems. Now, depending upon how aggressive a person is with this and their personal physiology, this may or may not be a problem. The other issue with condensing a lot of energy into the lower abdomen is sometimes it seeps up into the middle energy center of the astral body, or worse yet, the energy center of the mental body. Without converting this over, this tends to create a whole lot of problems. And we will get to this later on. But suffice to say, this is where many of the stories of practitioners going crazy or acting in a manic manner come from. And this ends up resulting in a kind of bipolar behavior because they'll practice a lot, have these problems, then slack off and essentially be energy depleted and feel tired and go into a somewhat depressive state. And they tend to cycle back and forth between this. Systems that don't have exercises like the 3 releases that we also talk about in the 60 Skills curriculum also lack a mechanism by which a practitioner can modulate this behavior. Examples of this include manic behavior, hypersexual behavior, excessive drug and alcohol use, excessive violence, excessive sexual behavior, staying up for days on end, etc., etc., etc. When you're young, this can be a little fun. However, the allure of this quickly wears off. Also, as a practical matter, this does not appear to be good for the body, because at the end of the day, while this kind of excess energy essentially hyperclocks things like your thyroid gland or other parts of your endocrine system, at the end of the day, your body cannot do this forever, and I've seen it result in a kind of adrenal fatigue that is extremely difficult to treat. So this is one of the many issues with only addressing the conversion of Jing, Qi, and Shen, or vital, astral, and mental energy, utilizing a passive system of development. Let us begin. Welcome to 60 Skills. We will now discuss not mixing the placement of energies. All right. One of the things that you need to keep in mind is that the access point for various energies in the body are in fact completely arbitrary. We train these various access points, the abdomen for vital, the astral, and the solar plexus or heart center, and the mental for the head, because as human beings, our ability to concentrate is finite, and we need a construct by which to move these energies around and differentiate them. That said, placing vital energy that has not been converted into astral energy into your astral body is extremely uncomfortable and can result in things like an epileptic seizure if pursued in great quantities. Placing vital energy directly in the head can cause it to pool in the pocket around your pineal gland and create a headache that is both maddening and has been known to lead to suicide. Don't mix where you store the energies. This is, in fact, a very bad idea. You need to convert energies when you put them into the other bodies. Now, this is one of the reasons why it's generally safe to store a lot of energy in your lower abdomen, because it will auto-convert to varying degrees. This is, in fact, not true when you store unconverted energies in your solar plexus or the center of your head. They just get stuck there and end up creating all kinds of problems. Don't do this. Some teachers can free this energy up when it's stuck. Other times it requires a kind of breath retention that's very uncomfortable and focusing on various points outside the body. In any event, it is not healthy. So you only want to store vital energy in your lower abdomen, astral energy in either your solar plexus or your heart center, or mental energy in the head. Again, don't mix the other things. This is a bad idea. Another reason for doing this is, as you train consistently where you move energies around and how you do that, the body can adapt to it. If you're mixing things up all the time, that doesn't happen. And it's risky for the reasons that I just mentioned. So always remember, don't put the wrong energy in the wrong place. At a minimum, this is very physically uncomfortable and can in fact be dangerous to your health. Let us begin. Welcome to 60 Skills. We will now discuss the different manifestations of energies. Jing, Qi, and Shen, vital, astral, and mental energy. Now, these are energies natal to the body. These are energies we work with all the time. They're just a natural part of what we do as human beings. That said, the elements, the Kabbalistic letters, And the powers of the planets also have mental, astral, and vital level components. So by learning to work with the three transformations, you can specify which one of these things you choose to work with. And this is important because depending upon what level of reality you are manifesting a given energy, its effects can vary greatly. For example, the letter G in Franz Barden's Kabbalah. At a mental level, this represents mental peace. At an astral level, this represents bliss. At a vital level, this represents abundance. At all three levels of reality, it is a water letter. At all three levels of reality is represented by a dark green color. At all three levels of reality, it generates a cold contracting sensation. At all three levels of reality, you would engage the magnetic line of force to generate the letter. However, what you get is highly contingent upon what level of reality you are working with. All right, so that is both an elemental and Kabbalistic letter example of how this differs. Well, what about the powers of the planets? Well, where this becomes very important is when you engage in acts of evocation, or more specifically, dealing with various spirit entities. You see, if you engage with the non-dual light, or highest level of an entity, you can deal with what can normally be considered a fairly negativistic or spicy entity fairly safely. Now, that entity can't do anything for you at that very refined level of existence. As you come down the chain of manifestation, that entity begins to take on more and more of a dualistic nature. The cultural programming, the egregore or egregoric effects that have been built up around that entity over time begin to compound. Now, the upside to this is the entity can act in a much more physical manner. It can begin to engage energy directly and work on your behalf, both in the astral and vital realms. That said, it begins to really exhibit a lot of moralistic or negativistic or dualistic behavior. This is where, again, that spicy or negativistic entity that's generally safe to work with at the non-dual level is now no longer so safe to work with at particularly the astral or vital or near physical level. They can in fact be quite dangerous and quite manipulative. Also keep in mind, the more energy they're working with, again that astral and vital type manifestation, the stickier those entities are, and typically the higher the karmic price involved in getting them to do something for you. So this is a little conversation about how the three transformations allows a practitioner to be very specific in what they choose to work with, and how this can become very important depending upon the forces that are worked with. Because sometimes it may cost you a little more than you think if you're not being very careful with this. And at a minimum, if you really want to be in charge of yourself and the universe around you and your own world, you kind of need to be specific when you do that. Let us begin.